Hi, welcome to Jewelry as Your Side Hustle. And this is uh Gay Isber, and I'm so happy to be here. Sugar is in the house, and today we're going to be talking to Kelly Parke. And Kelly has a really unique product and idea, and I just can't wait to hear all of her thoughts about how she got to where she is, because this is unique, people. This is not like what you've seen before. So hold on, here we go. Let's get started and welcome to my podcast. Kelly, take it away. Tell us who you are and give us the kind of the basic one little paragraph about you, and then we'll want to hear what you have to say.
Well, thank you for inviting me. My name is Kelly Parke. I am a creative. I've been a creative since I was four, a little bit of a prodigy with illustration since then. And I eventually became an accidental author and authored the Oquirrh Mountain Fairies, coloring in storybooks. But from that, I started to make pendants and necklaces. I just sent a link and hopefully I can bring that up on the screen. Are you able to see that?
Yeah,
Um,
well, you know what? You know what I did do is I did go on your website, and I think it was
oh,
so now you just answered my first question. Do you do all that art?
I do everything. Yes, I'm the illustrator. In fact, I published it myself. I was flat on my back for 2 months when my copyright came in because I was mangled in a car accident. And I just sat there like, okay, I have this copyright. What am I going to do with it? And but yeah, I got my first copyright in 2019, and I spent 5 years drawing over 200 illustrations. But I had this idea, and I used to be a STEAM teacher, so science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And so, and even though I had 500 students a week, I still wanted to not only inspire the kids, but I also wanted to help the teachers because it's hard to come up with curriculum, hard hitting
Yes.
curriculum, very
Yeah.
difficult when you're put in charge of your own curriculum. And I know a lot of them turn to different sources. So I created from the books, I created a teacher pack, a STEAM infused teacher pack, which is great fun.
I
But
did
in the
see it.
process,
I saw the whole tab for teachers, and I thought
yeah.
brilliant. Like I get where she's going with this.
Yes. And so because I'm a rock hound, so not only do I create the artwork and the design and all that, for the necklaces, I go out and hack the minerals out of the earth myself. And
Are they readily available to you? Because
they are. You
yes.
have to know where to go.
Okay, let's talk about first of all, where are you? Because I'm coming your way.
I'm in Utah.
Oh, of course.
Lots of geological fun,
And
minerals.
easily available because you don't have all the grass covering everything.
Right. It's wonderful placed. It's really they've got some very unique minerals here, and I've hacked out some beautiful gems. Some
Tell me your favorites, because I've been working all week with my head in a selenite collection, which has really
oh,
have been a fun collection.
I
But
saw that.
yeah,
I
and
just got some selenite
have you ever found it in the rock? Because it's there, it's
in
available. It's
in the rough. I have
the
not. I
rock.
went to what we call an urban rock hounding, where there are some folks who mine and they bring it all back and they sell it raw. So I
Right.
found some selenite there, but I just wrote about selenite in book number 3. It's very fun. Um, but I think one of my favorites lately has been the pyretized type of
Ammonite?
no,
No.
no, almost anything pyretized. It looks almost
Yeah.
sci-fi.
Goldish.
It's so beautiful. It's um amethyst is always a favorite because of the purple sparkles. Um, but it's so funny because I can't think of
So
all of
what
them.
did your
I love
selenite look like? Was it a log? Was it, or was it like a chunk?
actually I use it I get it in hexagonal cutouts so I can place
Okay.
other minerals on it. But
Okay.
you have to be careful with handling selenite. That's when I saw it. I thought, oh, I hope she's wearing gloves.
Why? Because tell me, I know that it's not very good with water.
Yes, yeah, there's a couple things that aren't very good with water, but it's considered um it's considered part of your like sea maggot. And let's see, I'm looking at all my stuff. No, it's not one of the, I was thinking of sodalite. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Sodalite. I know
Um,
the white and blue. I know sodalite.
yeah, I was thinking of sodalite because that's one of the silicates that and you can find a lot of silicates here in Utah, like there's quartz, of course,
Of course.
tourmaline, topaz, sodalite, opal, garnet, jasper, and chalcedony. Um,
And what have you found out of all that? Because of course, it's like Utah and Arizona, like those are like the two prime.
well, one of my favorites in Milford, Utah, I found fluorite. I love
You
fluorite
did
because
like tell
you
me,
can
was it like a
see
chunk? It was like
oh
crystallized. It
chunk.
was yeah,
And
like
you can see them on my website, on my blog. I show pictures of my mineral hunting. And there's so fluorite's probably one of my favorite.
was it green? Because it comes in different shades, right? Like
I
blue,
found
blue.
green, but purple
Okay.
is also
Yeah, 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 yeah.
very
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
But something very interesting about a place in Wendover. So right before you get to all the casinos, there's a whole bunch of hills, and there's some formations up that you climb up, and there's what you call seam agate. And
Okay.
seam agate is beautifully transparent, and you can almost, it's like a clear rock. And it has at the bottom what we call plumes. They look like flowers at the
Yeah.
bottom. In book 2, I talk about this quite a bit. I got a chunk this big. Like, and so materials from that one chunk are going to last me another couple years. I already sold all the necklaces, most of the necklaces that,
Those are on your website too.
yes,
Awesome
yes.
necklaces.
And you can kind of see in book number 2, I
It's
actually drew
clear.
it. Yeah,
Um,
I drew it,
you're
how big it
so
was.
you are so talented. Like
Um,
that's a skill I did not master. And you know why? Because when I was in sixth grade, my art teacher, I did a sunset out of tissue paper. It was beautiful.
ooh,
It matched the sunset really, like how it goes
ooh.
into like the, darker colors to the sky. Yeah, she said, no, that's the worst sunset she's ever seen. So I never picked up art again until I got to college. And that is a true story. I was like, all my sisters all did it. My mother was an artist. Everybody was like, no, not going there. Not
That
interested.
happened to a friend of mine. She was told by an art teacher she should never go into design.
That's really all
She's
teachers
so
out there
talented.
never tell somebody
Right.
that they should never do anything because I just said something negative. But I'm just saying, like, it's like the reverse, but to cripple teacher, a student can cripple somebody. Like, I don't think she had any idea. But my sisters were really good artists, so she expected a little bit more out of me, I thought. But, you know,
Right.
I'm
Right.
the only one that kept up with the art after I found myself. So that's
Oh,
okay.
I'm glad
But
you
let
got
me tell you
that.
about your drawings because when I was looking at them and I thought of all and that you're combining rocks and minerals with the stories. Now, have you had any feedback from teachers that are saying, "Ah, we got some new rock hounds because of you"? Because I would want that.
Well, the way it works, because I mix science, um,
Yes.
geological science, art, fantasy, and just magic.
I think it's mad. I
Um,
think you definitely show magic in your work.
oh,
Like
thank
that's a
you.
theme, right?
Yeah, the feedback I got, the biggest feedback I got from teachers is they love the hands-on because I have them make the molecules out of candy.
Oh, they're actually
And
like
even though I'm not trying to go real far with the molecules, it does introduce them to the concept of deep science. All the words in my books actually use real science words. One time I got some feedback that said, Don't you think you should water down the words. And I'm like, no, I want them to learn the real words in a fun way. And so here's the biggest feedback of all, which I captured on video when I was doing footage for my commercial and my ads. So they learn about the properties and the characteristics of, let's say, calcite, big, big mineral here in Utah, especially in the Great Salt Lake. Um, so they're learning it like you do, and I make it interesting and steam-like, but here's what pulls it together. So with calcite, when it comes in contact with acid, it melts. So when all the fairies are running from the bad guy, acid ion, calcite's especially afraid. And that's when the kids are like, oh, it's because it's acid. So they automatically get it because of the fairy character, because the characters themselves have taken on characteristics of the minerals. So, of course, she would be afraid. So, they all relate to her being afraid, and they never forget that characteristic of calcite.
That is a great story. That is a great story. You're so clever. And so the mineral, the also talking about each of the molecules really kind of goes into the conversation of the hardness of that
Mohs
mineral.
hardness, yes.
Yeah.
Scale of hardness. And when it comes to calcite, it's a pretty good level. Like
Yeah.
fluoride's very soft. And I learned that the hard way. So I went out to Milford. Now, you said how hard, you asked how hard it is to get some of this. Well, some locations have claims on them where you
Yeah.
have to pay.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
Others like BLM land and other areas, I just have a certificate that I'm an official rock hound with the club. I'm insured and I can go and rock hound to my heart's content. They might have limits to how much I can take off the land, but it's essentially free. But for fluorite, I had to pay $100 to get on there, and that gives you all day. I found what's called bubble opal with the fluorite. Bubble opal is an amazing stone. Have you ever seen it?
I'm not sure. Does it have a bubble in the opal with
Oh,
water?
it's got so it's like a clear white but transparent too, but it has all these bubble facets in it, almost like a bubbly diamond. And it catches the
Oh,
light. I
wow.
sold all but one of my bubble fluorite pendants that I made. They're amazing. You get them and they look just like this horrible little poop rock, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
throw it in a tumbler for a month and a half and it comes out like a gem.
Okay, now wait. So you talked to me about tumbling because you're the only person I ever know that tumbles rocks besides me. You
Oh,
actually put them in there for up to a month and a half, like to really get them shiny.
in different
That's the key.
stages.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Okay,
yeah,
the
like
final stage where it shines it up.
right, the first one where it gets all the roughness
Yeah.
off. And I even have a vibrational tumbler as well. And three regular tumblers because I got all new material this year. So I can't wait. But what happened was when I got all that beautiful fluorite, I didn't understand how soft it was.
Yeah.
And I tumbled it so long,
It disappeared.
I almost didn't get anything from them. And like they tumbled to dust, and I'm like,
Yeah, just
"Ah!"
dust. You just wash it down the sink with the sand.
Not down the sink. I dump that stuff outside. That slurry is bad for your pipes.
Oh, yeah, yeah, of course. But I'm
but
saying,
but I was like in tears because I
yeah,
love fluorite. It's so
yeah,
beautiful, so
yeah.
so pretty and transparent. And I looked forward to making pendants, and I ended up. I think I might have one.
Well, you
I,
can always go back and go get more rock, maybe
oh
for 100
yeah,
bucks. But
yeah.
I had a huge piece of fluorite while you're grabbing that. That was a brilliant blue. I mean, brilliant turquoise. That's not even what I was saying. Brilliant purple. It was like the most beautiful amethyst you would think. Let me see your piece.
Look how
Oh,
tiny
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I know, honey.
It's so
I
tiny. It's
know.
like this little
I
baby. But
know.
here's the thing: the pendants that I make, just these fun ones.
Yes.
All the pendants,
Oh, you got it one caged in there. I see
Oh,
that.
that's all little baby fluorites. That
Oh, that's so
it
cute.
used to be like this big.
I know, I know. I'm so
But
sorry. I
I
gotta
know
hook you up. I gotta hook you up with epoxy sculpt, girl. A
a
whole
what?
different way of doing pendants.
Hmm.
Epoxy sculpt. Oh my God, I make so many of them.
Oh, yeah, I've
Yeah. No, no, no,
been
no.
thinking
It's
of.
it's a
Mhm.
epoxy clay, and you can like turn those things like into little acorn bead caps, and you can put powders on them or gold leaf or whatever, and then it just becomes. Do I not have any in here? I don't think I have any pendants in here, but I certainly use epoxy sculpt for everything. So we'll talk about that maybe offline, and uh
Okay.
I've written two books, and they're pretty much on epoxy clay because it's such I used it today. Like it's kind of one of those things. Once you're grooving to it, you're like, oh no, this is more fun. In fact, those the Celadon pieces that I was using, I did a bead cap on a 14 millimeter bead, and then I put little moonstones in it, and then you put the little circle at the top, and you run the little wire down it to begin with because it's a bead, so then you have a little dangle at the bottom, and you have this bead cap, and it's not going anywhere. And it's really fun. It's like a game changer. It opened up my jewelry because I was a wire.
Yeah.
I loved wire, but after that I was like never going back.
I
So
thought about wire. I thought about this year. I've been thinking of new ways to make it, even drilling some holes because the necklaces I make aren't high end like yours. They're
right. Yeah,
made
there's little,
for
there's
kids.
there, yes, yes,
They're made for
yes,
kids and teens. The
yes.
teenagers, like the teenagers, love this little where I have the little gems.
Yes, that's what they want. Just
So
something
this is the
that's
triple one,
adorable. Oh, and how cute. You have the
and
pricing
this
marking on there.
is a 3D print of one of my illustrations.
Oh, that's so
So
cute.
I
Who's doing
3D
that
print
for
my
you?
own stuff.
Oh,
I have a
oh,
3D printer.
I have not gotten into that. I have
Yes.
not gotten into that. My
And so
son
here's
has.
that agate that I got.
Ah, I love it.
And then so the triple, they can wear them all together because a couple years ago that was a trend.
Yeah.
And now they just take them apart and wear them separately. And the teens love the little yarn ones with the little
Okay, now
jewels.
I saw black. You had black like ribbon. What was your black that was on? No, no, on
Oh,
the when you had the whole thing of them.
oh, just the black cord.
Because another thing that I've done in the past that's really eco-friendly is go to the tire shops, the bike shops. I love those. What is that? That is
Obsidian.
yeah. Did you know there's a rainbow obsidian that has
Yes.
a sparkle to it? It's in
Yes.
Guadalajara.
It's amazing.
Let's
I've seen it
go.
in person.
I haven't seen it. I only saw, I
It's
read
just as
about it.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
iridescence. Because I did pick up some obsidian when I was in Guadalajara and Tequila. But anyway, go to your bicycle shops. Then they have big dumpsters. Pull out the old tires, open them up, clean them all out, and then you can just with good sharp scissors make little ribbons. And it's like easy peasy, cost you nothing. And one tire you can have it for, it'll last. I don't know. I have a bucket of it still, and you can. Yeah, that it's recycled inner tube tire. And that's really good for the environment because
It
you're
is.
using up something. This shark's tooth used to be on inner tube tire, but it's I moved it to chin.
Wow.
But seriously, yeah, we need to hang out more. I love all your
Well,
rocks.
it is.
It's not
It's
very
not
often
glamorous
that
because,
I
like
find a real rock hound. What's that? Oh, what
that.
happened, Connie?
So,
What
part
happened?
of being a rock hound is it's great to find the big chunks, but you have to
Smash them.
sledgehammer them up. And I missed and got my foot.
That hurts. That hurt.
It did, but it's healing fast. But it's my first, injury.
I
But,
did that to a piece of malachite, which was actually really hard. And that stuff,
yeah.
I put that in a tumbler, and yeah, it turned out pretty good. Not as good as I was thinking because I probably need to tumble it more. But it quickly starts shrinking down so much. I kind of got scared. I was like, I'm gonna take this out of here for a little bit. I don't know. Like it's a fine line, right? It's smooth. I like it shiny,
Yeah.
and it's hard. I even do it to I have a lot of landscaping glass rock chunks.
Oh, okay.
And when they break up, and they kind of sometimes do if they have a lot of natural cleaves in them, and then you put those in there. But I haven't ever been able to get it shiny. I've just been able to get it matte, and then I top it with a coat of resin because I'm too quick for that. I'm like, no, I can't. I
I
can't.
did. I did spray some of them because I found out that fluorite is very difficult to get shiny. It's so soft. And so I did spray it with some sparkly spray.
Well, we have
Everybody
to. We're
has a little
artists. I
different.
don't think that there is a problem with using
Yep.
fingernail polish. I used fingernail polish on something today.
Oh,
It was something I needed to make a mold up, but I really wanted it to be shiny at the end. So I'm like, it was a ancient Roman ruin, but who cares that I put fingernail polish
oh.
on it? I can
Now
always take it
see,
off. It's metal. It's like whatever.
when I do a show at our annual mineral show, the collectors, they really care about if
Yes.
you chemically altered it, but the
Oh yeah,
kids,
yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
care. They don't
Yeah.
care. So
And even turquoise today, it's all got wax and color on it. Like the real turquoise that comes out of a mine is pretty hard to find, but it's so soft that they do something
yeah.
to make sure it doesn't fall apart on us. Because yeah, I definitely have had things. I've definitely had things fall apart, like rocks. And
Have
so
you?
you're like, okay, well, yeah, I was sticking around with something the other day, and kind of went into a million pieces. I'm like, okay, well, that sucked, but.
We had a bunch of pyrite that we were looking at, and when you tried to grab it, it crumbled into little cubes. It's actually kind of cool, but nobody really likes to buy little cubes.
Oh, I'm sure we could figure out some way to do something with it. I
I
love your
throw it in a
cage
bottle
idea.
and sell it.
Yeah, and your little bottles were cute.
Thank
Those
you.
little bottles, do they have a big enough top that you can
Yeah,
put
the
it
cork.
in?
So that I use, I don't let any of my minerals go to waste. So after I'm all done
Yeah.
tumbling, I have
Yeah.
a cute little teeny colander strainer and I dump them in there and pick out all the little teeny
Yeah.
pebbles and put them in those little jars.
Yeah, because I totally believe. Oh, you know what I'm doing for a friend who has a bra shop? I'm making little clips with, and it spells out words. It's that acronym word jewelry, and a piece, and all different kinds. So you could put your minerals on
Right.
your bra and wear them close to you. And then
Magical.
it's going to spell out, like, I don't know, there's all these different words. I put it through Chat GPT. I'm like, okay, you can use any of these letters. I went through all the letters. I'm like, okay, I don't have X, Y, Z. There's a few letters, like not very many, just like six. And give me all the positive current words, because that was a common thing in the Victoria times, but we don't really use the words that they were using.
Right.
They were using different words
Hmm.
than what we use. So it's a cute little
Yeah.
project.
Sometimes though, like my whole approach is kind of old-timey. Even my animation is a little bit old-timey. It takes, a person back to probably the 70s and 80s when they used to sit in front of the TV and do cartoons. I don't know if you saw
I
my
could definitely
animated
see that.
preview,
I kind of
but
felt that. I kind of felt like, yeah, I mean, if I was to think back and go, well, what did it look like? A little bit of Scooby-Doo.
yeah,
A
a
little
little
bit of
bit, a
Scooby-Doo.
little bit. And the words though, in my first book, there's some bad guys. There's one bad guy, and he's followed around by these little bubble goons. And I call them goons because they're thugs. And that's because I'm older, that's
Yeah,
from
a
my
goon.
time,
Yeah,
goons.
yeah.
And my daughter, who's, half my age and younger, reminded me that, the terms you use have changed. You might want to check that. I'm like, no, I think I'm going to be okay just because it's an old timey kind of style. And I
Right,
hope that people get that it's not a slur of any kind. It's just, if you're a bad guy, you're a goon. If you're picking on people, you're a goon.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's okay. It's
But
all right.
terms change, and I
Words
try to just
change.
stay real in the books. I try to keep it based on friendship and inspiration and how we help each other and our human connection.
So
I think
important.
that's why the kids relate to it because like I made a board game and I did a couple prototype parties for it. And the kids right away said, well, if the queen is out there helping all the other, fairies, then I'm with her. So they connect to the character right away.
Positiveness of a little fairy, nothing bad about a fairy. Yeah. Now you also have coloring books too, right?
Yeah, that's where everything originates from. It's not, how most coloring books have just like a little bit of copy and it's all color. Well, mine's kind of a lot of copy and some coloring too. So they
Because
read
you're
this
telling a
book.
story. So
Yeah, it's an adventurous story, and I did get some feedback. I got some feedback where other authors said they really like what I'm trying to do with it, but I should think about a chapter book. So, book number 5 is going to be a chapter book because then I'll get to expand on all the little
yes.
things that held me into the format of a coloring book.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Really, it's
that's what's exciting.
and I think that the way to, because I'm a writer too, I've written 2 books that have been published, blah, 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 blah,
Oh,
that's my thing. And I've written a novel and
oh.
it's hard to get those published. And then, but I realized really the best way to get something published is to write another book, like keep in that genre. I'm actually a full-time tech writer for,
Mm.
a global giant. But so I do love writing. It's definitely something that I really enjoy. Oh, I had to tell you something fun about my little project that I'm doing for Niagara. It's a Niagara Falls gift center that's coming up new. It's going to be a new gift center on the US side. And I used to live in that area and I know the area very well. My
Ah,
husband's from up in that area. We spend a lot of time, so I lived on the Canadian side, but he lived on the US side. So it's very much like I had an address in Niagara. So you get
okay.
it. I'm there. And I had just been doing a podcast about the in the 1800s. Sorry, I was looking to see if my notes were here, but they weren't. But George Kuntz was a rock and mineral hunter back in the 1800s, and all of that virgin earth that had been pulled up for the Erie Canal and all those earthworks, and they even straightened out the Niagara Falls at one point to make it a power station. And then the locals were able to find chunks of selenite, and they would then chip it down and then sell it to the tourist, saying that this is the foam from Niagara that solidified, and they're called Niagara pearls. So this
Niagara
whole
Pearl.
collection is called, Niagara foam pearls, but they're not really. They're,
Yeah, yeah,
because you have to realize too, I think this is something as beaters, fabricers, like people that are rock hounds, is that China started carving, jade, which is just like one step underneath diamonds. And
yeah.
this is before we had metal, and they were able to cut that jade with bamboo and water. So the fact that they're the world's outlet where beads are made, and India too, it's, a lot more glass over there, but they do minerals too. Almost everything goes to China, becomes that's a mineral, comes back to us as beads, because they have the technology for 10,000 years on how to deal with these beads, which is too bad. It's hard to find mineral beads that are actually made
Yes,
here because it takes a lot of equipment
yes,
and all that kind of
yes. I
stuff.
know
But
people who do spheres, big spheres, and
oh yeah,
but selenite is actually fun to carve. It's easier to carve than it is to tumble because it's so delicate.
it's so
Um,
soft.
yeah, in my I just
It's
it's in a
gypsum.
bucket
So
in my garage, but I have a chunk of selenite because my goal is to carve the selenite sword in book number 3.
oh,
It's
so
very
are you going to start off with a log and then shave it down?
so I have a chunk that I got urban rock hounding, and I'm going to carve it down into the sword that I drew in my little book about mineral power.
So I was up by Mount Rushmore, up in that North Dakota, Montana area, great mineral rock. And they had a whole mine there by the side of the road. It was just like tons of these logs, and I brought back one. I use it it's at my ranch, but that I'm thinking about it. Maybe I should move it out of the where it could get a little bit of water on it. But yes, I mean, I bought more and I bought more and I bought more and but that piece is like, it's such a special piece because it holds that memory of I did a cross country trip across Canada and back to the US
Yeah.
and just buying rocks and minerals. And I came back with my car full. It was like the best thing I ever did for myself because I didn't have to ask anybody. I didn't have to do anything. It was just like, I want to go there. I
There
want to go
are
look at that. Like I didn't
there
even
are
know what it was. Like I'm like, oh,
oh, at the time you got it, you didn't know?
it was a good long time ago. But yeah, I'm seriously, I they're very precious. If you came to our ranch, it's called the Discovery Zone on the porch. It's all the way around the porch are fossils, minerals, and gems inside too. But
Wow.
on that, it's for the grandkids, so that they can come and actually hold a piece of copperlite or hold a
Right.
piece of whatever. I think I
That's
have
what I
all this
do for
stuff
the
there.
teacher kits is I put actual minerals in the kits. So
I
the
know.
kids
Did you
know
have
what it
those when you were little kids? Did you have those little boxes that you could go?
is.
Oh, you would go to a trading post. That's what they had back then, right?
How
You go to the
fun.
trading post and there'd be a little cellophane cover and there'd be a little piece of
How
sulfur, a little
fun.
piece of
Yeah,
something.
back then I was more interested in candy. However, I have collected rocks since I was little. And it's funny because when all this started, my husband's like, since when do you like rocks? I'm like, you don't really know me, do you, honey? After 30 years, I had them in my pockets. I had them. I just never really expressed myself with them until my mineral fairies came about. And and as I opened up about those, because I've always been interested in science, geology, all kinds of science. Um, it's I've been a nerd with a lot
Yeah,
of different
yeah.
things. And so having that come out and blossom has been enriching.
Yes.
We have like, you
Yes.
probably can't see it, but it's my mini
Oh,
museum. It has
a
actual art.
mini museum?
Yeah. Oh,
Did you buy that somewhere?
I did. It was
Oh,
a
that's so
Kickstarter
good.
several years ago, and I
Oh,
have the oldest matter ever collected that's
oh,
4 billion years old or something. I have a lunar rock, a Martian rock,
are you
a
kidding?
meteorite. I have a couple meteorites, palm tree from Antarctica, a dinosaur eggshell. I have vertebrae from dinosaurs, and I
Oh, I gotta give me one of these.
yeah, Dracula. I have Dracula's castle. I have from the Transylvanian Alps. I have stuff.
And where did that come from? Where did you find that? That's quite
Um,
a find. That's something
like
you've
four
wanted
years
forever.
ago, 4 years ago, there was a Kickstarter when Kickstarter was fun.
Yeah.
Um, and this guy had collected all this, like you and I, just gathered the things we like over the years, and he realized he had just all of this amazing stuff, like stuff he hunted down, stuff, really precious stuff that you just don't find. And he's like, well, I'd like to bring a museum to you. And when I saw that, my jaw just dropped. I'm like, I'm getting that. I I just had to have it.
It doesn't matter what it costs. It's
It
something that
was,
we're going to
it
feel
was,
better knowing that we
yeah.
have something that we can
It,
look at and appreciate. Like,
I do. I
seriously.
look at it all the time, and
Yeah.
I marvel about the history of this earth. And that's, partially leads into how much I love the minerals because I sit in awe that they were created we're
Yes.
wearing pendants like these
Yes.
little minerals.
Yes.
These
Yes.
are cheap little minerals. They're thousands of years old.
They're thousand and they
And
come in natural colors that are just unbelievable.
it's just
The shapes.
I'm just amazed and the creativity. There is, where is it? Um, I think it's no. I I'm inspired by different things, and that's a lot of my inspiration helps me to write my books, but it's not just like there was a photo I saw from some photographer I never knew, and immediately I started thinking about well, I know exactly how that will fit in my next book. And it's this gigantic rock that basically points to the sky, and he got it with all the stars. And I thought, so I paid him for that photo so I can draw it and
Right.
incorporate it into my book.
Beautiful.
And so that's how it works with me. I
A giant piece of basalt coming out of the
oh,
earth. Is that what it
it's
is?
like a it's like
Granite?
it's like a I don't even know. Most of rock, most of what we see are the how do I explain it in my lessons? There's
The
three
wash
different
things that have been washed
kinds.
away.
Well, it's there are a lot of places where you can see the layers of sediment over the years, but this particular rock looks like it has a matrix of probably 4 or 5 different types of the categories that you find in rocks. There's let me think, I can test myself. I hope they edit this part out because
No, we're not going to edit anything out. But I have a minor in geology. Like it's
you
like a
do.
real passion. Yes, from TCU.
Oh
And
my.
they're the repository of all the asteroids that hit the Earth, that hit the US. They
Oh.
all go there to be studied. So I was surrounded by and tektite and like, Vesuvius site or whatever it's called. Like
Mhm.
seriously, like it's definitely, I don't know. I've been a rock person since early, like
That's
you. Like we were
that's awesome.
born artists, right? Like we were
Yes,
born
we
rock
were. We
out.
really
Yeah.
were.
I had my
Um,
little rocks from early on.
well, I'm thinking of because most of the rocks that we actually walk on are the sedimentary rocks. That's why I was trying to
Right.
think of was the 3 different types of rocks. The igneous, which is like obsidian, which is almost like
Yeah.
glass. It's like the actual lava that just kind of cooled
Yeah.
off. And
Yeah.
then you have the metamorphic, which is a combination of the igneous and the surrounding rocks and minerals. So it's
Yeah.
a
The heat and
combination.
the
And
pressure.
then the sedimentary, you'll notice, and that's what this big rock formation reminds me of. Shale and sandstone, limestone, and calcite falls into that category, where that's what you're walking on. That's the matrix of most of the land that you're walking on right there is the sedimentary rocks.
You need to come to my ranch. I need to come to your place, and you need to come visit me because at our ranch was an ancient people's and I haven't found any points, but the handmade tools are just prolific. They're everywhere. I mean, you pick up a rock and it's like, oh my God, this fits perfectly. Oh, look, it has a tip. Oh, look, when I hold it in my hand, it's like, oh my God, like look at that. Or it's been carved to look like a duck, or it's been carved to look like they were there for, 10 thousands of years. So on our little piece of property, we I don't go anywhere without a rock pocket. I have a little purse kind of made.
Right,
It's just like
right.
a
A little
place to put my
satchel.
rocks in. There's just rocks everywhere. Just have piles of rocks, Folgers cans of rocks everywhere. Because we're like crazy. Because it's like, how can we not pick them up? There's so every time the
Well,
rain comes, it brings up more rocks. So
oh, you know that place in Milford where I got the fluorite and the bubble opal? That's also a burial site. It was, yeah. And you
they
can
knew about it
actually
too.
see arrowheads and things that were buried with folks. And so when the rule is because they actually own that land, out of respect, they just put
Yeah,
it back
yeah,
where they found it.
yeah,
Just because, I think when they agreed to put the claim on that, I know the claim owners, and when they told me that, when they bought the claim, they agreed to honor the burial sites. I guess it was one of those deal breakers that they wouldn't
yeah.
have got the claim if they did not honor those areas. So,
So important.
yeah,
Really.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
right now.
I did see
Yeah.
a couple while I was there, but I didn't pick them up.
There used
Um,
to be a show. It was on, I think it was PBS, and it was like the mineral collector. Did you ever see that? And he goes
oh,
all over the world and goes into these like really deep mines and goes into like all of this stuff. It might still be online. I mean, you could still find it. He has a place in Dallas where he sells his minerals. Like he's a known name. And but it was the best show. Like you actually got to go into the mines with him and see some of these really rare places where they risk their lives to go down into these,
yeah, yeah.
very small little caves. It's really that's give me a show about that, and I don't need anything else. I am happy. I am watching my shows. Like I
Those
definitely
are
love.
some of the jewels and the minerals that they pull out of those places. They just make me drool. They just because you
Oh,
can't find some of that here. Like when I was talking earlier, my big thing right now is that pyritized petrified wood. You get a
okay.
piece of a petrified wood and it's got pyrite all over it, so it's been pyritized. It looks like something out of science fiction. I hope I land my hands on one of those. I
Okay.
just
So
want to have it.
one of my dear friends, and I say that he's dear. I His wife is dear, and I send her free jewelry every time she buys something. I just made her an amazing necklace.
Mm.
But they are the ones that do that ginormous sakura petrified trees that are like 12 feet across, and they put them
Oh,
in museums. I met him at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show. I came back. I
oh,
just saw him in
Tucson.
February, and I'll hook you up on it's Russell something is the name. Anyway, I'll hook you up on
Okay.
Instagram or Facebook because it's amazing to see what they do to dig those pieces up and transport them. He actually his where he polishes everything, and can you imagine polishing that these gigantic pieces? And he
A lot of
has
work.
it's really amazing. Like I bow to him. That was a job and a half.
And he's
Figure
in
out how,
Tucson?
yeah, but he actually works out of like Maine. They have and he has a really old building that he bought in Maine that it was like, some kind of a foundry or something. So it had all the pulleys and it
Oh,
had all this
nice.
interior. Yeah. And if you look at his stash of what he has, the logs that are, they're as big as you can imagine, as big as a refrigerator. They're gigantic. Like they're as big as a car. And, so he digs that up and hauls it across the US, and they
Wow.
they coat it in concrete first and big huge metal straps so it doesn't fall apart because it is a little
Right.
until they
Right.
can get it together and put it all up. But fascinating world of petrified wood. And he's the one that explained to me how it was made, and he's written a book, and he's really kind of at the pinnacle of the whole petrified wood thing, but
That's
it all comes from
wonderful.
Utah and Arizona. Like that's where it's from.
Too
Really.
funny. I used to live in Tucson. I used to live all over Arizona, but I wasn't even a rock hound then. I was just this young kid. Just
Oh, but it
do
got in
this,
you.
do
So
my
it got
thing.
in you. It got in you. Now have you been back to the Tucson Gym and
We,
Mineral Show? I
we
just
get
showed my jewelry
distracted.
there.
We get distracted. Life has its way of
Yeah.
distracting you.
It's
Or
hard. It's hard to go, especially if your pockets aren't full. I ended up going, I was a seller, I was a vendor at the Tucson Society show.
oh,
And I love that show because, but there's nobody really like me there. So I'm a bit but the media did their daily newscast from my booth because it was, kind of like crazy.
nice, nice.
Yeah, we love all that. Like you and I would have been crazy. We'd have been like, oh my God, look at that. Oh my God, look at that.
Yes. And
So
I'm fortunate here. Soul sister like yourself, you and I really kind of get it. I belong to a club, a mineral club, and that's how they are. They're just salt of the earth people. Just they just love going out and getting their rocks. And we go to Tucson, but see, they also run the gem show. And the gem show that we do is really we do for the kids.
yeah.
We make these little
Yeah.
rock bags. And the latest video that I posted on my Facebook page, um, it shows everybody hammering. That's the day busted my my thumb. But the idea is to make all these little wonderful little bags of rocks. We put in everything we found this year. We break it all up. We grab some stones, some polished stones that we buy from Tucson, probably that show. And we put those in the bags. We put some of those little pendants that you saw that I hung up. We put one of those in like every third bag or something as a little surprise. And they only cost $1 for this little bag of rocks. And imagine how we were as kids to have a treasure like that. And that's what we do it for. We just, and the kids all around locally, all in Tooele County, they all sew bags. The teachers teach them how to sew and they sew the bags. So they're all looking for their bags when they come to get the rocks.
Oh, how cute.
So it's this real
Oh,
community connection. The kids are all involved in it and they just love coming to that show. And I have a blast. I love to talk about the mineral fairies and they love my little dinky necklaces, you know. It's just so much fun to see their faces light up. And there's so many different subjects, so many different kinds of kids
yes.
stop at my booth. And that's another thing I made sure that the teachers know is that those kids that are neurodivergent, they always find something in my books. It's not just for the creatives, it's for
Right.
a lot of different types of kids. So that's my joy right there is when they come up and they are inspired.
I totally understand that. I totally feel that just with you, just talking to you. I'm like, I could be that kid again. I wanted to share with you too. I had a shaman one time who told me that rocks do talk. They just talk really slow. I was like, okay, who knew?
Really?
So maybe your fairy can slow down her talking and talk as like as slow as a rock
Hmm. That gives
does.
me an idea for another character for my
I
chapter.
know, I'm thinking it too. I'm seeing it. And so now you're going to remember about the inner recycled inner tube tires because there's tons of them. You just go to a bike
Tires.
shop. And
Mm-hmm.
those are great for little kids because they cost no money. Don't have to buy a chain. Just a
Mm-hmm.
little piece of wire closes it up. And I
Russell.
really hope that you and I will connect again. And
Yeah.
it's just, you have filled me with joy because I've been working by myself all week, doing my little
Oh,
thing, loving working with selenite. Never really did much with it before, which is really interesting because I have cat's eye and I also have selenite. And if you put the two of them together, that look pretty similar. And I'm like, I don't even know if they'd even know the difference between cat's eye and selenite. Oh, well,
is
maybe
the
it's
selenite you
fiber
have
optic.
clear?
It's like fiber optic, fiber, they call it
Uh-huh.
cat's eye beads, but it's fiber optic. It has that same striations, the
Oh,
same, luminosity when you hold it up, the same
right, right.
everything. I'm like, I don't think I could see the difference. I
Does
don't
it
know.
have that flaky like layer kind of thing going on? Because selenite's famous for that.
It is, and I do know what you're talking about, that kind of a bit
Mhm.
of a roughness, not as smooth,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
definitely, yeah, I don't know, you
Well,
really
that'll
could
be fun to
feel
see what you
different.
come up with
Oh, I
this.
came up with lots of things. So it's about I kind of did it first thinking, well, the tourists are more, from overseas, and it's kind of like trying to get into the head of, because I was a jeweler for the CN Tower for 4 years, so I kind of was going back into that time. And then the guy goes, "No, let's do it all like it's like the turn of the century, like the late 1800s." I'm like, "Okay, I'm on that." So I made a whole different collection, just
Mhm.
finished photographing it and sending it to him as little videos, and then I'll go back and
Keeping your
figure out
finger on
pricing.
the
Pricing
pulse.
is tricky, isn't it?
It is. It is. You know what's funny is you made me think about how I met my husband.
Tell me that story and then we'll wrap it up for the day. I want to hear
I
that.
met my husband when he sold diamonds. I work next door at a place that sells what you make. Not as nice, but same idea. They called it costume jewelry back then.
Yeah.
And so I will walk by to the food court and flirt with him. He ended up teaching me everything I knew about diamonds. And I did sell diamonds for a brand name that dealt with New York at one point in time. So maybe that kind of, because diamonds, that's a pure mineral. That's just as pure as you can get. And I used to sell them very well a long time ago. In fact, I was in tech quite a bit, but I made a decision to keep more in touch with my creative. I still do tech, still playing around with a 3D printer and using tech to make sure I, print my illustrations, no one else's. So that means I have to slice it and do the tech myself. But I like keeping in touch with that little creative girl. So I made a decision, purposely decision to go that route. And I think my life is much happier because of it. But it started with, flirting with the diamond guy.
I love it. Well, we all have to start somewhere, but I'm we're really so similar, I think that at my age, if you hadn't kept up with tech, you would be so behind the curve because everything changes on a every other day basis, pretty much in tech. So,
Yeah.
there's so many ways that we use tech now, but that's a whole nother conversation. And we have reached our hour, but you and I are now bonded forever. So isn't this like a great little hour that we just spent just like feeling our love of rocks into our soul? Like it just
Like
makes me
catching
so
up with an
happy.
old friend. Really.
Yeah, you are.
Uh,
You are now. You're an old
it's been
friend or
wonderful.
a new old friend, or at least just a new friend. So nothing
And
is
it's so
better.
funny because last time we tried to meet, I had a razor blade in my tire, couldn't get home. Today,
Uh-oh.
because I still have a day job. I am a marketing guru, coding and designing and marketing. I do that by day. But I ran out of gas, and
God.
I came home on with maybe 5 miles left of gas.
Okay. Dang. How close is the closest gas station? Is it within 5 minutes?
Uh, it's not far from my house, but I have to go all the way around the Oquirrh Mountain. And so there's at least 20 miles where you can't go anywhere. So I'm like, praying for gas vapors because I would have missed it again if I had to stop. Is that the craziest thing? It's like,
Well, I hope your husband can get you, or you can put some gas in there before you take
yeah,
off
he's
again.
got a gas can
Yeah.
just in case.
I mean,
But isn't that crazy?
yeah.
It's just
It's
funny.
okay. It's just what it is. It's like just it was just meant to be that today was the day because
Day of
now
the day.
I've done all that selenite work for an entire, week,
Yeah.
actually a little bit longer because I had to, deal with it all. So now we had something even fun, and now I'll show you those selenite pieces, and
Well, I
and I'm
look forward
proud
to
of
it.
you. And I would love to do another one. We should talk again because we could talk all about diamonds. I have so much to say about all that.
Diamonds and maybe we can share notes about some new ways I want to do some pendants. Like I've really done them in a very simple way. So well, not for these. These are not simple.
No,
But the other pendants are, and I'd like to kind of take it to the next step.
I'm gonna show you some. I'll email them to you, or on Facebook. I'll get them to you so you
Okay.
can see.
All
But
right.
anyway, well, you're a dear. And
You
say
are.
okay, so say it again. It says Kelly Parker with a P, and your
Actually,
next
it's
one.
yeah,
What?
it's Kelly Parke.
Kelly Park
Parke. Yep.
with an E. I saw that E, but I didn't see the R, so you're right. But you go by on Instagram, you are
Actually, they shut down my Instagram.
okay, no Instagram for you.
So it is Facebook. And it's just if you type in Oquirrh Mountain Fairies, like Oquirrh, it's a different way, but it's the only ochre in the whole world.
Right.
But if you type just that word in, you will find me on Facebook.
Okay. The Mineral Fairies. Well, I'll
Yes.
find that. So I
Yes.
love
And
that.
then I have my
I love
website.
that. I was like, Mineral Fairies? Oh my God, like they're really mineral fairies? Like I want to know them.
Oh, I'm glad you invited me on. It was I think we just don't get enough time to connect like this. So thank you.
I agree. This has been the best thing for my soul is to get to spend an hour each week with somebody new and really like just dig in and just find other connections because there's so many.
How many have you done? How long?
I think, well, this is like number 8 or 9 or something like that.
Oh,
So
you're fairly
not
new
enough,
at
kind of
it.
new, but we're getting there. Spread the
I just,
word.
yeah, I just started doing little videos just yesterday. So, but not podcasts. So,
Well, if you need to have some help on all that, I'm pretty much good at all that too,
okay,
whatever. Mm, I
we'll
did.
chat. We'll definitely
Because
keep.
we've learned I could do a little thing for you. Okay, well, we've gone past our time, and then my little
Okay.
my little Omar gets mad at me. He's like, "Oh, you went over time. How am I supposed to do that?" It's like, don't worry about
Well,
it. It's all
thank you,
good.
Gay. Thank
Well,
you so
thank
much.
you. And now we're friends forever.
We are. We
Thank
very
you again. And I
thanks.
I, I wish you had the best rest of your day and go get some gas.